Women in Travel, the Male Allyship programme has been running now for 3 years. But why does allyship matter? I think we've heard a lot already in the conversation with Alessandra and with Daryl. So this panel will delve into the ins and outs of allyship and how it can accelerate the process and inclusion in the travel and tourism industry. To lead the conversation, we're fortunate to lean on another great ally, industry leader Dan Pearce, CEO and owner of TTG, whose whole motto of smarter, better, fairer is a key driver in the industry. And recently, congratulations achieving B Corp status as well. So, welcome Dan to the stage.
Thank you, Joe, for such a generous introduction, and thank you to Alessandra and the Women in Travel team for inviting me to chair this allyship session for the 3rd year. It's an area that I'm passionately interested in myself. Many of you will know the team at TTG. We're a predominantly female business, and I've always tried to be a good ally to my team. Although I can really relate to a number of the things that Daryl said in that conversation. And I'm continuing to learn, I'm continuing to get better. One of the ways I've learned to get better this year has been because I've had 5 of my team on maternity leave at the same time. So five out of 30. So yeah, I've learned this year that supporting women is not only about supporting them in the workplace and when they're working, but it's also about finding ways to ensure that I'm supporting them when they're not working as well. I guess I've also learned maybe to change the water at the TTG offices as well. So we'll see what happens next. Now on to this morning's session. Now the last couple of years, I know many of you will have seen the sessions that we've had. We've had mentors and their mentees on stage here. It's felt a bit like couples therapy at times, and I know some of those couples are in the room, maybe not still together. But we thought we'd do it differently this year, so we're going to split this session now into 2 sections. So we're going to spend the first 10 minutes talking to a male ally who is a mentor on the Women in Travel Male Allyship scheme. And a mentee, but not his mentee. And we'll talk about the workings and the minutiae of the scheme and the benefits. And we'll move on to a broader conversation around allyship with 3 more very special people who have a lot of insight to share. So without any further ado, I'd like to invite our first 2 panelists. That's Clara Loho, travel designer and founder of Clara Loho. And also David Atkin, MD of Atkin Jones. Clara and David, would you like to join me? There you are. Couldn't see you. Would you like to take the middle 2 chairs, and then we'll shuffle up. Great. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good. I'd like to kick off just by very briefly just explain a little bit about yourselves. And why you joined the Male Allyship Mentor-Mentee scheme. Clara, starting with you.
Hi everyone, it's an absolute pleasure to be here this morning and to talk as well on behalf of all the other mentees who have been part of the program this year and on previous years. So I'm the founder and owner of my own boutique travel agency, and basically I design tailor-made trips worldwide of immersive experiences, and it was a no-brainer, honestly, to join the program. I was here last year at the forum, invited by a friend who is also an informal mentor, and you know, I truly connected with the vision of Women in Travel, what it stands for, and how it does it as well. I mean, who doesn't want to be part of, you know, an organization that wants to build a more inclusive and diverse industry? And I particularly joined the mentorship program because I was encouraged to do so. I didn't think it was the right fit for me at the point I was in my career, and I'm just so glad that I was invited to do it because, well, we'll speak more about it, but it was a transformational experience for sure.
Tell us briefly about your mentor that you were matched with.
All right, so my mentor was Andrew Hunt, who leads Holiday Architects. We couldn't have been a better match. we truly connected from the very beginning. So I gotta say that Alessandra and her team are brilliant matchmakers. If you want to expand in the industry, think about it. Yeah. But yeah, so he just accompanied me with such level of integrity, generosity, kindness, and wisdom as well. So it was just very easy to walk the journey with him. And I feel we both were very committed to the process. So that really helped to get the most out of this program.
Yeah, great. Clara. David.
Again, morning. Thank you for having me and inviting me, Alessandra. So, yeah, we run, well, Atkin Jones Limited is the mothership. We run 2 risk and safety management consultancies, working for about 120 tour operator, and actually in the UK and beyond. We sort of, I suppose, feel in sort of quite a unique position in the industry because we're not really sort of competing with any of those companies. We're trying to work with them all on a certain level. And I found, well, Women in Travel initially, but the program specifically through a chance meeting with Alessandra. I then had quite a lot of encouragement also from Alessandra. And to be honest, I looked at the list of names who were allies at that point. Some CEOs of some pretty big companies, and we're a small company. But I was encouraged that didn't matter, and that I should absolutely get involved with it. So yeah.
And how long have you been involved?
So this is my 2nd year now.
Yep.
So yeah, and actually, both of my mentees, because of the way they wanted to work it, we're still going actually. Not with the first one. That's sort of come to a natural end now. But we've kind of gone beyond the limits, if you like, of the program. But yeah, that's been absolutely fine.
And is your mentee doing something directly related to what you do, David?
Yeah, so first year it was a lady who was outside of travel who wanted to get back in. So that was an interesting exercise. Sort of became a recruitment consultant for sort of 9 months, which was a little bit out of my comfort zone. But this year it's been a lady who's trying to grow her business, and actually based in the USA. So that's been another interesting aspect of it. Yeah. But I think again the matching process has worked. Our business has thankfully grown pretty well over the last few years, so it was a nice match.
Yeah, we both sound pretty enthusiastic about the experience. Tell us, Clara, is there anything that surprised you around your relationship with your mentor?
If I have to highlight one thing, it was the impact that it had on my business and on me as a business leader and as a person as well. I thought that it will help me in certain aspects, and we set clear goals from the beginning, which truly helped. But it was completely transformational. The way I look at my business, the way I make decisions, how we reach objectives as well. I know I will look back to this experience in the medium long term, and I will see it as a pivotal moment in my career. So I think that there was something to highlight. And we had a meeting yesterday, all the mentees, and also just to also give the voice to the other people. What I felt was impactful as well was the confidence that we received from our mentors as well, because a lot of us have walked that path before. So they've been through the same challenges. They have similar bruises and scars. So that having someone that sees you, that sees the value that what you're doing and just to validate that, I think it gives us that type of confidence, and that comes out of the relationship.
Yeah. So you've really grown in confidence with this relationship, and it's going to make a long-lasting change, you think?
I definitely think so, yeah.
Yeah. And interestingly, and I know we're keen to get more people to sign up for the program, and I think it's important to break down some of the barriers that people might have about it. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment, does it? How often do you both talk to your mentor and mentee?
Yeah, so it's sort of down to the mentee essentially, but it's about an hour a month. So just sort of minimum 12 hours commitment, but obviously there's other time you need to put into the process. I think that's one thing now. It's sort of really settled for me that now. It's the first year I think it was new, and I really wanted to obviously embrace it and learn. It was a sort of taking me out of my comfort zone to a degree as well. So. So yeah, that was a big part of the year one, but it's really settled now. It's part of a sort of a normal schedule, so it doesn't really feel it's anything unusual anymore. I think one thing that surprised me, and actually there's been no nasty surprises, fortunately, they've all been pleasant, but was the broader nature that the discussions took once we got into it. So I sort of thought that we'd be very focused on the goals and objectives because that's what we need to do at the beginning. But actually it took on both years have taken on a different direction, and actually confidence. We did speak about this before, but we didn't talk about this point specifically. I wrote this on the train this morning, but definitely the confidence is a big focus for my two mentees. So personally, we've spoken a lot about encouragement and just reassurance almost that the aspirations and goals for the mentee are achievable and attainable. That's a big part of it.
But very much a two-way relationship as well, isn't it? And tell us a little bit about your learnings.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it might sound obvious, but it is a skill, mentoring, and definitely not one I'd have said that I had before. I don't know, maybe my colleagues wouldn't say it's one I got now, but it's definitely something that I've taken into day-to-day, my day-to-day role. And I suppose now, without thinking about it almost, but yeah, a lot of focus in the early part of it.
Yeah. And your key learnings, Clara?
My key learnings, I will say that from the very beginning, we reflected on really relevant questions like, do you want to grow a team? How big would you like your team to be? In which markets do you want to be present? What type of brand do you want to be? What truly defines you? And, I've been operating for some years now, but I guess that, when you start a business, you want to go running, and that's the way you should do it as well, because you need to get your clients in and you need to build your product, your experience. But I guess that it's important to have those questions. So that gave me a vision for my business. Like, that was really, really relevant. And as well, business management, massive learning, massive growth, how to make decisions, how to support decisions as well, relying a lot of on data. We built a full data system that it holds so much, I was going to use the word wisdom, but it's just information, and about the business and just reaching financial objectives. Like that was, it was a massive learning as well to set them to work towards them and to definitely achieve them. So that was also another highlight. And in regards to the timing, there's something I would like to say. Obviously the implication in the mentorship is up to the mentor and the mentee. It's a personal relationship, and each pair sets the goals. But I gotta say that it is an energy-consuming process, at least the way I experience it, because it's true, you may meet for an hour, a month, or a couple of hours, or wherever you decide, but then there is hard work to be done outside of that hour, to come back to the next one, having had some growth and some key learning. So just to manage expectations, definitely it's not gonna be a full-time job, but it's gonna demand a little bit of your energy and time, so you can just have it as an additional project to the job that you're doing if you're running a full business.
So be prepared to do your homework.
Be prepared to be challenged. And be prepared to do some extra work, which might be challenging as well, so might require some more time and energy.
Excellent. Yeah, well, the program has grown from, it was around 12 relationships up to about 40 relationships now, Alessandra, but certainly always looking for more mentors and mentees to come forward. So do obviously get in touch with Alessandra. Any tips for anybody looking to get involved? Just any lasting point before we move on?
So I think that point taken. Actually, fully immerse yourself in the process. If you're going to become a mentee, I think not just in the one-to-one sessions, but there's lots of other opportunities to network with other allies as well. That's how we met first, and also that I think one thing that struck me about the process is if businesses are putting forward women to become mentees, why isn't that business having an ally as well? It makes sense that if the business is committed to it, then so if there's people here who feel like their business could commit on both sides, on the ally side and the mentee side, I'd absolutely recommend it. No one will regret it.
Sure.
And for me, it's a tip, kind of, and an invitation. So setting the objective, I think, is pretty important from the very beginning, to be matched with a mentor that can really support you and lift you on the journey. And then it's an invitation for all the ladies in the room to enroll. is for everyone. Literally, it doesn't matter how advanced you are in your career, how early you are. If it's your first career, your third career, you know, age, it really doesn't matter.
Q2, Q3,
Yeah, Q4, like
Yeah.
literally, like I think you should definitely consider it because it's a really transformative experiences. We all have different challenges, as I was saying, as we walk our professional life, and new perspectives are always enriching. So I would definitely invite you to consider it, and the male allies as well. We need you guys as well to mentor us, and there's so much that we can get, you know, bidirectionally from this relationship. So
Great. Well, thanks, Clara and David.
Thank
We're going to.
you.
You can stay. We're going to broaden the discussion now to the wider appeal of allyship. And I'd like to invite 3 more speakers to join us on stage. First of all, we've got Jackie Clark, the Chief Commercial Officer of Diamond Air International. Jackie. There's one along. That's great. Ewan, where are you, sir? Ewan, the experientialist in chief, no less, of out there. Ewan. And Shayna Zand is the Director of Partnerships and Enterprise Sales at We Travel. Shayna, there you are. I see you at the back. Thanks so much for joining us. What a panel, what bounty we're going to bring forward in the next 25 minutes discussion. I want to begin, obviously we'll start with you 3, just hearing a little bit more about yourselves, your experiences, how you may have benefited from allyship in your careers. And we're going to get on to talk a little bit more about what companies can do to encourage this support in the workplace. Let's start here with Jackie.
With me.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. I'm kind of clinging on to the Q3. I didn't even know that existed, but now I'm a cling on to the Q3. So I'm obviously going to be going to my new career, and I thought my career was on the end. I suppose the thing to say for me is that I've been in travel since 1997. And previous to that, I was kind of in more type of admin-y roles. So in 1996, I decided that with my long-term boyfriend, we were going to get married and buy a house. And we did the most sensible thing we could have done at that time, which was go around the world for 2 years instead. And spend all our money. And come back with a massive passion about travel. So I applied to many, many companies, and finally I got an opening at British Airways. And it's very difficult to get into British Airways, let me tell you, but I was very, very lucky, and I met some incredibly supportive people that gave me a huge opportunity. I also met people that said, you'll never make a manager, so always be grateful for the fact you've got a job here, because you're not going to do much, but you'll be okay. To don't ask what you're putting in those envelopes, just stuff those envelopes. To people, that men and women, but some very senior management men that said, you can do anything you want as long as you're curious enough to ask. And that's exactly what I did. So I stayed there for 19 years, and I headed up Call BA in India and Hong Kong, moving out to Delhi on my own, which was a big step for me. And also heading up trade sales for BA on the business side. And then I left after 19 years to go to Japan Airlines. And I stayed there for 6 years, a very, very different culture to BA, and I learned a huge amount there. Unfortunately, I got made redundant last year. Lots of people have been there, so we've all been there. But I had a great relationship with Christina Lawford at Diamond Air, and she asked me to join last October. So I've been at Diamond Air, another career, not in airlines, since October last year. And again, meeting new mentors and allies even there, now at the stage of the career I'm in now. I'm very pleased to say.
And Diamond Air is a concierge business,
We
isn't it?
are a meet and assist company, growing massively, looking at off-airport check-ins, new ways of working, trying to bring airport experiences to the customer as opposed to the other way. So yes, if you get a chance, I will absolutely stalk you and talk to you about it later. And there's a few of my team here that will do the same. Yeah.
There's a couple of points there that we'll come back to, but let's move on to Ewan's story. Ewan.
Well, thanks for having me. Firstly, I just want to make clear I'm not South Korean. I love women. I just don't want to date one or marry one. That's all it is. All right. And I think before before we continue bashing the East and Africa, I think we have to understand the constructs of colonialism on those places and the patriarchy that has been created in those places as a result of that. And we have to, in the economic West, deconstruct and decolonize and help people understand that as much as possible. And that's where we go. That's the last bit of mansplaining I promise I will do. And also the first and last bit of yellow savioring that I hope I'll ever do as well. My name
Let's
is
come back
Ewan.
to your story.
Yeah. My name is Ewan Jong. I am editor-in-chief, which is experientialist-in-chief, which is just a snazzy way of saying, and maybe slightly pretentious way of saying, editor-in-chief of Out There magazine. We're a diversity-driven business. So we started as a luxury travel magazine for the LGBTQ community back in a time, 13 years ago, 10 years in a pandemic, as I call it, back in a time where there was no marriage equality, there weren't rights for the LGBTQ community here in the UK and in many countries abroad. So we understood the power of allyship, and we were knocking on doors and people weren't listening. We had a mission. So we understood the power of allyship, because without those allies, our journey has only really been 55 years, if you want to count Stonewall as the start of our journey. We truly understand the power of allyship. Because without those allies, without people standing up for the rights of the LGBTQ community, we wouldn't be where we are today in terms of political and legal rights, but also in terms of what we do as a business. Something very interesting happened in our business. About 4 years in, we discovered that 40% of our readers were not LGBTQ. And we thought, holy shit, what did we do wrong? How did I get this so wrong? But it turned out that a lot of those people were solo female travelers, people of color, people who are disabled, because we were doing same gender parent stuff. Single parents said the same things. So there were a lot of people and a lot of women in our midst that told us that they travel in this identical way that LGBTQ people did. And they needed that allyship. And the media landscape that we were operating in did not provide that allyship for people. So I became very much an ally for all marginalized communities rather than just the LGBTQ community. And that's my journey.
And you almost didn't realize that that's what you were
No, it happened by
becoming.
accident, but it was a happy accident.
Yeah,
And, and I, the power of allyship and learning from the power of allyship and what it delivered for the LGBT community in a relatively short time. We can extend that and use those learnings into other markets as well.
Yeah, outstanding. Thank you, Ewan. Yep. Now, Shana, you come from more of a technology background, and I'd love to hear more about your story and your experiences of allyship.
Yeah, so I'm in my scary 30s. Thank you for that. I felt great. So, I mean, I've only spent part of my career in the tech space. I'm actually really scared of technology, so if that helps anybody who's looking to, So I grew up in Toronto. I still live there now, and I grew up actually. My mom was the breadwinner. My mom was and my dad had his own company. But my mom was the breadwinner. My dad was the one who took me to figure skating and who took me to volleyball and who was the one who cooked. My mom didn't even know where the oven was. Like, it was that's what I grew up with. And that, to be completely honest, was my expectation of men coming into the workforce, was the way that my father supported my mother. Also how I go into personal relationships, which has really been a difficult one for me. Anyways, so I actually started in tax. I specialized in tax. That's what I went to school for. So I did cross-border US-Canada tax, super exciting stuff. And that's why I'm in tech now. I'm going back but I grew up most of my career at Intrepid. I spent 10 years of my career at Intrepid, and and watching Daryl here was a beautiful thing. And also, I had a lot of mentors, both male and female, at Intrepid. One of my mentors is sitting in the back of the room, Claudia, over there. But I had one in particular who was the MD, or the managing director of North America. And I got to learn so much from him. Him and I are completely different. He's still with the company now, completely different. But I got to watch so many things that he did. And even as simple as I was interviewing for my first role at Intrepid, I started as a tour leader. Let's go there. I was a tour leader for multiple years. I guided our trips around Western Canada. That is how I started with Intrepid. And when I got to a point of, feeling as though I'm ready to manage people, manage a department. I had my first interview and I completely flopped. I was scared. I was repeating questions back at them. I was just nervous. And after the first interview, his name is Lee, he sat me down and he said, okay, I want to give you some feedback because we're going to bring you in for a second interview even though this one did not go well at all. Okay? I'm a self-aware human. I knew this did not go well. And he tells me the things that did not go well. And I go into the second interview and honestly, I kicked ass. I took everything he said and I took it to heart and I ended up getting the job. Even though my first interview was horrendous. And he continued to guide me and teach me. And like I said, I had many mentors. There are so many incredible people that are at that company that got me prepared to move into the tech space and how technology can then help companies like Intrepid and so many other multi-day operators. And so that was really kind of my journey from start to now.
That's great. Thank you, Shana. A lot of honesty already coming through on the panel. I'm quite interested in how companies are showing allyship. We're talking here about mentors, mentees, I'm an ally, you're a mentee. Actually, allyship comes in many more abstract ways that we're not labeling. And David, let's just come back to you at the end. Would love to hear, in your business, how, without applying these labels, you are supporting less well-represented communities.
Yeah, so I think we're on a big learning curve ourselves in this regard. So, like I said earlier, we're very fortunate to work with a lot of different companies within the travel space here and in other parts of the world. And it's trying to delve a little bit further and not borrow ideas, but it's a continual learning process and one of constant improvement. So I think that's the big thing for us. We're very much at the start of I guess our journey in this area, and me coming into one of those sort of programs has been the start of it, but we very much want to accelerate that now. So as we grow, then we can feed that back into the businesses that maybe aren't doing as much. So I probably didn't answer the question directly, but that's kind of where we are.
Yeah. I guess it's about company culture as much as anything. I'd like to come back to you, Jackie, because you've obviously had 19 years of experience of working at an iconic corporate British business in BA, and you experienced good and bad attitudes within that business, didn't you?
I did at the beginning. Yeah, so I mean, I've always been on the commercial side. It's very funny. When you tell people you work for British Airways, the first thing they say is, your crew. And I always say, have you seen how tall I am? I actually can't even reach the overhead lockers. So that was never going to be on my radar, unfortunately, because I would have loved to. But it's, I mean, the good thing is they were very good at giving opportunities. And I think that is the one massive takeaway from a company like BA. People look at BA and they do think it as a kind of an old shit. It takes a long time to move things, and it does. But if you're the type of person that will put yourself forward and say, I am curious, I'm interested, I want to learn, they embrace you with both hands. And I was very lucky. I had massive imposter syndrome. I don't know how many people in the room, I expect probably more women than men suffer with imposter syndrome, but I struggled with that really badly. And having people around me to support me and say, not only can you do this, but you really can put yourself forward, was a massive change for my career. I mean, it really was. And I can't say to people enough, if you're slightly a curious person, I know everyone in this room, it really sits on that side, so it's probably the wrong audience. But for us working on Alessandra's program with people that really need that, we want to bring people into our business to give them that opportunity.
And this is the Elevate program.
That's right, the Elevate. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And how's that working?
Well, I'm here. I was only asked a few days ago, and Akua really is in our team. Is really promoting that and working very well. And when I told Alessandra I was doing this, and I was a bit new to it, she said, Jackie, it's fine. Just make sure you tell everybody, please sign up to the program. She said, I don't care if you don't say anything else, just please tell people. And
okay,
it really
we'll move on.
It's really beneficial. So yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Ewan, let's talk to you a bit more. I know you, a bit like me, you talk to a lot of different travel businesses all the time. Are you seeing a cultural shift, do you think, in the way businesses are run and how they're supporting different people?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the key thing and the wonderful thing about the mentorship program here is that it takes action. I often talk about DEAI as someone throwing a ball up and hoping someone will catch it, but no one catches it. It sort of just gets passed along and along and along. And everyone likes to talk about diversity and inclusion and pat themselves on the back for having the conversation and said they've done their bit when it comes to diversity and inclusion. People need to catch the ball. People need to catch the ball and take action. And one of the best steps to do that is the mentorship program. But there are lots of other things as well, just to realize, to learn, to continue to educate yourself on an ongoing basis, to create employee resource groups, however big or small, or networks across industries to be able to tackle the challenges that happen. And also to realize that DEAI is not a one-stop shop thing. It doesn't happen to a one-time thing. It's a continuum. It continues moving, and the challenges changes. Intersectionality is a very big challenge that we have, and it's something that I face when it comes to talking to our solo female travelers. They're just not solo female travelers. They're black solo female travelers, or they're lesbian travelers, or they're transgender travelers, which seems to be the big battleground in politics at the moment. So there's a lot to take on, I understand, but we have to take action rather than just talking around the issues.
We'll come back to that theme. And Shana, you work at We Travel. I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about that and a little bit more about the energy in the business around this topic, because I think Ewan's absolutely right. The difficulty in this area is moving from intention to action. And you said that you'd seen quite a lot of interest around this scheme within the company. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I mean, working in the technology space in general, it is very male dominated. Majority of our leadership is male. And, you know, we talk about it very openly as a company, and I think that that's when we talk about steps in the right direction. I think sometimes we don't need to talk, like we talk about all these things we want to do, but there are small steps that we can continue to take. And I know that there's a lot of larger companies out here. There's really small businesses in here as well. And to I would say that one of the things, and it's kind of off track of the question, so I'm sorry, but you don't have to complicate something to do something well. So like even really simple things, you know, we have all of our Slack channels are We Travel This. So we have one called We Travel Proud. One of our founders is part of the community, and he loves this channel, but it was our CEO that introduced this channel, what it was meant for, and how to contribute, and the articles, the stories, what can we do as a business, all of these things are shared within this channel so that we can really simple things can make such a difference within our business and what we're teaching to everybody within our company. Having gone from, I think 2 years ago I was the 65th staff member, and we're now 210. So it's grown quite significantly over the last 2 years. But within the business in general, when we became a corporate ally sponsor for this year. And so I was offering some of the men in our business and women as well, if they wanted to be an ally, wanted to be a mentor as part of this program. And I introduced it on our leadership meeting. Within seconds of me saying these words, I had 4 of our VPs message me saying, I want to do this. How do I do this? One in particular was our VP of finance. And he is one of the most confident, one of the most sure people I've ever met. He asks great questions, incredibly smart. And the first thing he said to me was, Shana, I don't know if I have anything to offer. He's like, I don't feel like I haven't, what do I have to teach? He's like, I feel like I'm not like good enough or smart enough. And I said to him, your vulnerability is awesome. Also, you have the most important yet most boring topic to teach, which is finance. It's something that's a necessity to your business, but it's not the most exciting thing for your business. And so it was incredible to actually see the men that were approaching me in my business be incredibly vulnerable with me. The VPs are C-suite, because they're like, what do I have to offer? They didn't really understand what they did. And so that was pretty incredible. And it got them to thinking of how they can support other people in our business, but also to be a great mentor as well.
Yeah, that's great. It gives you the sense that perhaps the world is full of allies, but not everybody knows how to step up and support. Clara, I'm conscious we haven't come back to you. Tell us a little bit more about how you benefited from allyship outside of this program, any more in your career.
In many ways, I think it also raised awareness about diversity. I mean, being part of the community and an ally, how diversity implies like a lot of elements and a lot of communities within our industry. And I guess as well that it made me more conscious. I work through local TMC, so I have like teams all over the world, like who to work with, and I definitely prioritize more consciously woman-owned and led businesses. So I guess that comes out of here as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. I think we are coming towards the end. We are going to ask for questions. Has anybody got any questions you'd like to ask? Any hands? I'll ask one. Yep. I think we've got a microphone just over here. Would you like to say who you are? Is that Tom?
It is, yeah.
It's one of our former couples.
Chantal's here. We can do the double up. We can revive, get the band back together. Tom Power, Pure Aventura. A question that actually this was asked of me, possibly Alessandra, but general answer here. Lynn Hughes of Wanderlust came up to me the other day, and she said, why is it male allyship? Just made her really uncomfortable. And actually sort of sitting here again, I've been a mentor, so I understand hopefully the benefits of it and of the scheme. So it's not criticising the scheme, but why men? Why not simply have allies?
And Jackie and I were having a similar conversation earlier.
I asked exactly the same question.
Right.
Yeah.
Now answer. Not you.
If perhaps I could take that question, but perhaps Alessandra would also like to speak up. But I would say in the first instance, the conversation that we were having, and as Zena made very clear at the outset, the issue in this industry is not the number of women working in the travel industry, it's the number of women in senior positions in the industry, and we all recognise that. And I think the thinking behind this is looking at men in senior positions and helping them find ways to encourage women to move into those senior positions. Is that the
yes,
thinking?
Absolutely. And also, I think if you can hear me, if I can have my microphone on. I guess that often when we speak about these issues, we find ourselves speaking to the converted. And the converted tend to be women, individuals who identify as women. And when I asked the question, why aren't men getting involved? The answer was, well, because I don't feel comfortable, or I will be seen as I'm the guilty one because I'm the CEO, I'm the white male, and therefore, I'm kind of cornered here. And my passionate belief is that we need everyone in the room to change the world, and we are much better together across what that together means, and sort of every individual. And so the idea was to create a platform that would enable people who wouldn't necessarily put themselves out there openly to have those conversations and to learn about the issues in a safe ways. So really, if you hadn't noticed, you are being reverse mentored. The male allies are being reverse mentored as part of this program. And it's a bit of a joke, but there is both. It is a two-way relationship. And so, some of the male allies you meet in the break might tell you, they've learned as much or more, and they are able to put themselves in the shoes of someone who perhaps they have been a very long time ago, or maybe they've never had the chance, or they've forgotten about. And so, any woman in this room will tell you, I can be an ally and a mentor. I'm happy to do that. But not all men will tell you that. So you have to gently encourage them in a way that feels comfortable and that can make fantastic impact. Because actually, each and every one of our male allies has made enormous impact. So I am really grateful to all of you. So I hope that kind of answer the question. We also have lots of women allies, and they're always welcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any more questions in the room? No, we'll just come back to the panel just with a closing point from each of you. Any tips on how these people can go back to their companies and help foster better cultures around allyship? Any points? Ewan?
I'd say don't see it as a hurdle. I think that's what people always, the first thing they come away with, they go back and go, oh, this is going to be, I've got to jump through hoops to get this done. It's actually really quite simple. You just have to take those actions, and you've got to be willing to put the time in to do that, and you'll soon see the cultural change. And it happens very quickly. Yeah. Those first steps particularly, you've got to persevere and you've got to spend time doing it, but it's not a difficult thing to do.
Sure. Clara, coming to you.
I will say, do not underestimate the impact that you can have. That sometimes it's not about quantity, but it might be about the depth of the impact. So we can all make a change, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's a learning curve for everyone. And the moment we'll master something, we will be beginners on something else. So just try.
Yeah. David?
Probably the point I made earlier about the organisation, and if it's just mentees that are involved, make it that there's an ally as well, and vice versa. So that's something we're looking at. We found the programme by me being an ally, but how can we extend that now? So again, you showed the example of getting into the programme, but then how do you develop it and make it better? Like you said earlier, it's about culture, but leading the way and dragging other companies along that might not have realised that's what they need to do.
Sure. Jackie?
Certainly from our perspective in Elevate Her, there's a lot of companies talk about D&I, but it's a great practical way of dealing with D&I. So bringing it into your business and doing something practical, not just talking about it, but actually doing something. That's what I would recommend for people.
Okay, good tip. Yep. And Shana, the last word.
I'm going to kind of draw on something that Daryl mentioned when he was up here, which is know your audience, who you're talking to, right? What resonates with who is making the decision in your business around this. And if you can understand that, and I mean, speak to anyone and everyone in this room who has participated in some way. I had to go to my CEO and I had to talk to him about being a corporate ally member. Ask me how I did it. Right? That's what we're all here for, but know your audience and who you're talking to and speak to that audience would be mine.
Yeah, and one final thing from me as well is to just actively look to bring more people into this conversation and into this community. It is, and it's very apparent sitting here, just how female this audience is. We're at the Women in Travel Conference, of course, but I know we'd still like to see more men coming into this environment. So let's see that continue to grow. But thank you to the panel. Thank you.